What's up, guys? Clutchfang37 here, bringing the STX Surgeon 700 lacrosse head review. So before I dive into it, just a little overview. STX, this is the sixth head in the Surgeon series. You have the original Surgeon, Surgeon 10, Surgeon 300, and the Surgeon 10 500 and Surgeon 500, and now the Surgeon 700. So not a whole lot of heads make it past a certain number of heads in a series before they die off or become something else. The Worry Evo, Brine Clutch are the only ones I can really think of off the top of my head. I guess you could say the Mark IIs are, but those are, I classify the Mark IIs as all being the same head, just slightly different, not a whole lot of changes to them. So being a sixth head in the series, that's pretty nice, pretty cool. It just means the Surgeon line has been selling, which is also great. I also think the Surgeons are some of the better attack heads out there. But anyway, getting the actual review, big thanks to STX and my friend Will over there for sending me over a Surgeon 700 and some memory mesh. I really can't thank you guys enough. This is incredible. Being able to receive a head, 2 weeks before it's out is really nice. It gives me some time to dive into it and give you guys my full review of it and how I feel, and maybe, give you guys some information, see if you guys are going to purchase this head or not. It's also really cool for me to be able to get gear ahead of time. So thank you again. So now diving into the review. If you haven't seen anything on social media, I'm going to cover a lot of the technology that has been seen, a lot of technology I think that needs to be shown off, and my opinions on it, as well as giving you the overview of the head, and there's going to be a lot of information, so this could be a lengthy video. So getting to the scoop, we'll start there. It has a speed scoop. It's not as aggressive as the Stallion 700 Hammer 500, but still there, you can still see it's a little aggressive. I think the reason for that is, 1, the top holes, 2, the scoop is actually more pointed, and 3, the front part of the scoop, but getting that in about 30 seconds. Top holes, nothing too crazy, but yet again, there is a lot of craziness going on. It has your standard 6 on the outsides, which makes it very easy to string any pocket you want. And then what they did was they added a recessed top hole up here, and what that does is it's supposed to, if you string it properly, it's supposed to pull the channel up a little more, giving you a more natural channel and a tighter channel, and they call this the channel lock. This is one thing that when I first saw the head come out, I was a little curious about. I'd seen pictures of it a couple months ago, back when some of the STX guys were using the prototypes, and I saw the middle hole, and I was very curious about it and thought it was, a little stupid, because, I don't know, I just don't see a reason for it. But after stringing it up, I absolutely love it. The top hole, as you can see back here, it doesn't follow the natural curvature of the scoop, where it just kind of goes in a straight line across. It is actually raised up. It doesn't look like it's raised up a whole lot, but when you actually string it up, you'll notice it is raised up a good amount, and it actually does affect the channel somewhat. So when I was stringing it, I decided to do a reverse normal top string that I picked up from Mainly Mesh and Sam over there back when he was working there and whatnot. And I really liked it, but what I wanted to do was do something like I saw on STX's website when they had the Tilt Tech. Instead of going on the normal diamond, right here, what they did was they pulled it and used the next row down. So you can see normal 9 diamond, normal 9 diamond. This one's a little goofy. And right here it's actually locking the 2 middle diamonds, which are normally on this row, as you can see. So this ideally could be where a shooting string would go. And what it did was I pulled these ones up here a little tighter, and what that does is it really pulls the mesh in, really locks in place, and really pulls the mesh up just enough to affect the channel and make it something unique. I think that's one of the better ways I've seen it done. I've seen some other people do it just with normal diamonds, but I think if you really want to pull this up, just pulling it up on the extra row of diamonds really helps just a little bit. Also keeps it nice and tight, and I do like the ball to hit the top of the head. So since this mesh is tucked almost underneath the top, it gives that nice little click off. Something I like, but I really like the channel lock technology. I think it's awesome. The scoop right here has 2 very large cutouts, which I may be worried about when you go to scoop, but after playing with it, I really don't see any problems with it. That's to cut away weight and give it a bit more of a locking mechanism with these 2 outer ones. Since it is a little bit beefier and inside the head, you're going to have to really pull those strings down and lock it in. So overall, the top portion of the head and the top strings are just, the top string holes are phenomenal. I absolutely love them. I think this is, this gives for a lot of room to play with stuff and really mess around with the tilt tech hole where you can pull up the mesh and see how high you can get it and the kinds of unique and goofy pockets you can get. Skiing the sidewalls, this is going to take a little while to explain as well, but just like all the other surgeons, the first three are very large. I was able to fit, a hero string through this 3 times very easily. I could easily gone 4 or 5. That's the same with the top 3, so you can really lock the mesh down and get fancy with it. Going down the back rail, there is, I think, 17 holes, which is pretty standard. They're all pretty well shaped. Some of them are goofy shaped. As you can see, there's one right here. It's not naturally shaped like all the other ones, as well as the one above it and the one above it. So those 3 are a little goofy, and then going down they get to be pretty normal. Nothing too crazy there. Pretty standard for a head to have 16, 17 holes. And then getting into the mid-rail holes, this is where it gets extremely tricky. And this is where I'm going to spend a lot of time talking because it is something that I absolutely love and something I absolutely hate. So the Brine Asset, I think, was the first head to come out where it had the mid-rail that you can string up sidewalls on, and it was arguably one of my favorite heads back in 7th and 8th grade. I had a bunch of them, and they discontinued them because they just weren't selling and no one got the, there's a lot of problems with them. They weren't shaped like any offensive or defensive head. It was just very generic. They were expensive, and it was just too hard to string for a lot of people. Then you have the Jewel Aries, which tried the middle rail, and now you have the Surgeon 700, and this is interesting. It took me a couple times to string up a pocket that I really liked, and when I first got the Surgeon 700, I instantly knew right away I was going to string on the middle rail because, why not? You got a head with a middle rail option, and it's brand new, and might as well try it out. So I had been looking, and I took a bunch of screenshots from Instagram of how people did their middle rails because I wanted to kind of study them before I got this head and tried it out. And after looking at everyone's, I just kind of decided why copy someone else when I could try it my own way, so I did. And I absolutely love the middle rail idea. So you can see the pocket I strung. It looks pretty goofy, but it's my ideal pocket in this head that I really have come to know and like. So it's nice and baggy. It'll sit low. It'll sit right here in the middle of the head, and then since it's pulled so tight, natural channel, natural pop out. And with the middle rail, I think that you can ideally string any legal pocket but still keep it legal, because if you string a pocket right here where it starts to bunch up and go up in the middle rail, if the ball's sitting down here, ideally you got about an extra 1/5 of an inch maybe where the ball can sit, and it's a illegal pocket but still legal because it only counts for this, not where this ball is strung up, which I think is really cool. And this thing is just, it's very difficult to transition from, the normal rail down to the middle rail. I had a little bit of a tough time creating a pocket that looked aesthetically pleasing, but also didn't look like it was just jumbled up. But I found a way to do it. It wasn't too difficult. And then I've seen a lot of people with these where they wrap them around the head like a normal sidewall would, but that just looks a little too goofy to me. I don't like a whole lot of string being exposed. I also want to keep it nice and flush, and I found a way to kind of weave it through. There's plenty of different ways to string this up. If you pick up a Surgeon 700 and you don't plan on using it for a week or 2 in a game, I highly recommend you sit there and you mess around with the middle rail as many times as possible because it is so much fun. Very difficult, very challenging, but it's fun. It's unique. It's something that we really haven't seen in lacrosse, where you haven't seen a head that transitions from a back rail into a middle rail before. So I thought it was really cool. What I ended up doing was, I did a knotted SI, and then I went 1, and I pushed it through here like this. And once I went into the inside, how I kind of did just kind of weaved it through, I just went through 2 diamonds on each one. So you can kind of see right there. So we'll go through 2 diamonds, go down here, goes around, 2 more diamonds there, and then to finish it off, went through 1, and that's ideally what I found to really like. It pulls the mesh in very tightly. It keeps it to bag out the way I like it to and sit lower when you're cradling low. So you can see right here when I cradle low. And also since I pulled the mesh all the way down to the very last hole, that creates kind of a natural seat for the ball to sit in. Let me grab a ball. Alright. So this is where I really come to love this head. Creating that middle rail, the way I strung up, it creates a nice little seat for the ball. And it's not illegal. You know, when I go to cradle one-handed, it's really just going to nestle the ball in there, and it's never going to come out really. And it's still perfectly legal, which blows my mind. You know, there's so many different ways you can string one of these bad boys up. You can get any type of pocket you want in it with this middle rail. You can experiment with pockets. You can get a mid pocket, low pocket, high pocket. You know, it's just overall, it's just one of those crazy heads that is actually going to survive in the market and work, I think. So Tilt Tech, pretty nice, very subtle, but still does its job. Pulls the mesh up tighter in the top for a natural channel. Speed scoop, everyone really likes the speed scoop. With the Surgeon, since there's a more narrow head up at the scoop, more pointed, it may be a little difficult for ground balls, but overall I think it's going to be okay if you know how to, you know, some fundamentals of lacrosse. Stringing wise, back rail, pretty simple and generic, 17, 18 holes. Anyone can string that. Middle rail, definitely going to give anyone a challenge, but it's just incredible and fun to play with. I really enjoy it. I think that this is, you know, the biggest way to have a cheater pocket without really having a cheater pocket. So you can see, I mean, my pocket I figured out in this. Sits nice there, mid-lowish, and as it bags out, you know, sits there, one hand cradling, sits right here in the pocket, which I really like. But it just, the way I strung it and with the middle rail, it just pulls that mesh inward and just nestles the ball for cradling one-handed, which I really can't get over. You know, I strung this up and just have been sitting here messing around with it, and that's really cool to me. I've never thought of something like this. As you can see, I mean, it's still perfectly legal, ball depth wise, still legal. And memory mesh with it itself is something that I think you should pair up the Surgeon 700. So that's pretty much getting you the sidewalls and the stringability of it. I think it's great. Other really small things before we go. This is awesome too. The ball stops on the last two STX heads are incredible. The Stallion 700 had the leather one. This one has a black and chrome one. It says designed in Baltimore, which I absolutely love. It's very subtle. There's no big stamp on the head that says made in the USA or anything. It just, ball stop just says designed in Baltimore, which is really cool. The ball stop itself is pretty futuristic, pretty cool looking. Down here at the bottom of the throat, they have this unique weird pattern going on. It's kind of like the Surgeon pattern, if you can kind of see that. And also, if you guys may have noticed, they have the screw holes in the front. A lot of people have been asking what's going on with that. And the reason behind that is they wanted to really shorten up the throat for attackmen and middies who like to cradle the ball one-handed, and they want the ball as close to them as possible. You know, so if you're cradling one-handed and you have your hand back here, if you have anything with a screw, it's going to push your hand down a little more, so your hand's ideally further away from the ball in the pocket. But what they do is they cut this down a lot in the back, so you can really get your hand down there. And putting a screw and a head way down here is kind of, I don't know, caused a lot of problems for braking and whatnot. So I put them in the front, and they gave you two. I like this idea, but I think they executed it wrong. Just because I personally, you know, this is nothing against STX or anyone. I personally am very OCD about my lacrosse heads and shafts. When I'm holding a shaft, I like to see the words right here. I don't like to be flipped upside down. And I also don't like screws being in the front of my head or in the front of the shaft. It's just personal OCD thing. But, you know, if you're someone who doesn't care, you're someone who doesn't go, you know, switching heads and shafts all the time, it's not that big of a deal. Me personally, I try not to switch heads and shafts a lot, but I also don't like anything to, you know, be broken or have something going on in the middle. Hence why the Mark IIs, I will always have a metal 2 shaft, because I don't like there to be a big hole in the middle. You know, things like that. But anyway, on this head and this shaft, I just put on A7150 and flipped it backwards because there's no graphics on the A7150. But anyway, stringing up this Surgeon 700 was very easy until I got to the middle rail. It took me about 5 or 6 different times of messing around with it to get something I really liked. So stringability is, I wouldn't say it's difficult. I just say it's challenging and fun. Something you definitely don't want to mess around with. Accuracy, I mean, with the Tilt Tech up here, or not Tilt Tech, that's Warrior. The channel lock, I think it's called channel lock. It's not enough to really make a huge difference, but it's enough to make a very subtle difference, and I really like it. The Tilt Tech or the Zone, oh my gosh, you know what I'm saying. It pulls the mesh up nice and tight if you use it the proper way, or a very good way. You know, just stringing a basic top string won't really do a whole lot. So use that's really nice. Speed scoop, of course. I also like that when they made the Surgeon 700, they really didn't follow all the other Surgeon design patterns on the side. They just kind of went with a new one. Pretty cool. Playing around with it, it's really unique head. You can get a lot of cool custom pockets. And one thing I noticed is after I strung up and was playing with it, you know, I shot and passed with it for about an hour and a half. And I realized I didn't even have a bottom string in it because the mesh is pulled so up forward. I really didn't need one. But I'm definitely throwing in just to make sure. My pocket, it's really not that pretty looking, but it works, and ideally it's what I like. So thanks for watching, guys. I know this is a very lengthy review. Hopefully stay till the end. I mean, it's very difficult to cover all this stuff in a head and not talk about it for hours and hours because it's just so unique and so different. Something that I really love. I really enjoy it as someone who likes to string a lot of lacrosse heads. I think it was very challenging and very fun. And there's just so many different things you can do with a head that's, you know, very simple and has very subtle changes, but they create drastic things. So thanks for watching, guys. As always, hope you enjoy. I've got a couple other reviews coming up soon. Always check out 50calmesh.bigartel.com. I do a lot of custom die jobs and heads, and I just kind of throw them on the website and wait for someone to kind of find it and buy it. But yeah, Surgeon 700 comes out May 15th. They're going to retail at $90. If you're lucky, you can order one with a white piece of hero mesh, or not hero mesh, good God. White piece of memory mesh for $90 as well through lax.com and sportstop.com. I'm sure other websites will have it, but I definitely would recommend picking this up if you're a stringer or even a defender or anyone who's looking for just a unique, awesome head.